Welcome to Orioles on the Verge. This is Zach Spedden, joined as always by Bob Phelan and Nick Stevens. And on tonight's episode, we're going to discuss some aggressive roster assignments that are paying off early in the minor league season. We're going to focus on some guys that started a level ahead of where we expected them to this season, but are performing well. And a theme here, at least for some of our picks, is that these are guys that are young, that don't have a lot of professional experience, but that have done their part early in the season to make the Orioles' decision to push them wise ones. And we're also going to break down later on in the show some guys that we're hoping the Orioles will pull the trigger on promotion for sooner rather than later. But just to get a general comment here to start things off, I think that there's a lot of guys that we could have highlighted here. One that we didn't is Anderson De Los Santos, because we've talked about him a lot in the last 2 weeks, but that has been a real revelation early this year, what he's doing at Chesapeake.
It's been amazing. And it continued last week where I think he hit his first home run of the year, continues to walk a bunch, not strike out very much. Yeah, love what we're seeing from him. And that will be highlighted in our May Top 50 highlight. At least I'm going to be a little bit aggressive on him, I think, with where I put him, just because making up for lost time. He probably should have showed up on the back end of our top 50 towards the end of last year, but he's really unforgettable now.
Yeah, I know I didn't pick him because he would have been a perfect choice for this episode, especially given the guys you guys picked. But yeah, I wrote the Substack article about him. You guys talked about him last week. I felt like we could give him a little break, even though he's not taking a break. I think this will probably come out. He'll have a couple more games under his belt, but as of our recording this on Monday night, a 184 WRC plus, 324 average, 27% walk rate, just a 20% strikeout rate, couple home runs, couple doubles. Just a phenomenal year for De Los Santos. You know what? I'd rather miss because we just forgot about him or just didn't take note as early as we should have. I mean, he was a guy we've highlighted for a couple of years there, and I feel like he had some injuries, some just the batting average wasn't that good, but I think a lot of this is where having access to that underlying batted ball data, that pitch data would help us out a lot. Anybody listening? But we're here to correct the mistake on De Los Santos, and I'd rather miss in this case than to have another Keeler Morphing incident on our hands.
Very fair, yeah. And again, not part of this episode, but Thomas Sosa, again, a guy that if you stick with it, if you see the exit velocities and the potential and pushing him levels, and I don't want to anoint him too quickly, but he's been incredibly impressive first couple of weeks.
Those are good points there. And we'll go in now to the players we each want to highlight individually. And as I said at the top of the show, some of these guys are younger players who don't have a lot of professional experience, and that certainly is the case with Bob's pick, which is a player that we had some high hopes for going into last year, only for him to struggle in the FCL, but he was pushed up to Delmarva to start this year, and we're seeing glimpses of what could make him a really interesting prospect.
Yeah, DJ Layton, Professor Layton, who is 19 years old, and again, said this a lot in the first week on the Hot List episode, but I thought, after 40 games, a lot of pinch running, hurt but not injured last year, he had an 85 WRC plus in the FCL, batted 183, walked a bunch, 18.5%, but struck out 27.5% of the time, showed no power whatsoever, 048 ISO. Just was like, obvious guy, repeat the FCL, and then hopefully, if things go well, he can get the bump up after the season, or if things go really well, before the season ends. But instead, the Orioles like him enough to, well, first of all, he was in the spring breakout game roster, and now he's on Delmarva's opening day roster getting reps all up the middle, shortstop, second base, center field, and just comes out lighting the world on fire. He is striking out 34% of the time, so that is worth noting. That is a big number, but I'll take that when you're walking 21% of the time. You have a 214 ISO, 2 doubles, 2 triples, a homer, 4 stolen bases. He has been caught stealing 5 times, but hey, it's just like Nate George. If you've got the tools, this is the place to go crazy. show him off and hopefully refine as the year goes on. But a 188 WRC plus. He does have a ridiculous 609 batting average for balls in play, so he's the anti-Samuel Basallo right now. But he does look impressive. The tools are clearly there. He's an athlete first and foremost. The defense needs a little bit of work. He's getting a little bit lucky at the plate, but I love to see the early success and the early confidence in the organization to start him at Delmarva and have that early success. And hopefully he can just continue to go from here. He's only 19 years old. It's basically his first full season because he started a little bit late in the FCL and the injuries last year. Yeah, I love when the Orioles go high school in the draft. Didn't happen right away for Leighton or another guy we're going to talk about, but give them time and they are able to develop these guys in an interesting way.
Yeah, you do see that just ridiculous BABIP. I didn't even know anybody could have a BABIP that high. Ground ball rate's also pretty high. Contact rate's low. Swing and strike rate's high. But, like you said, he's 19 years old. He's had 2 plate appearances against pitchers younger than him this year. And when the Orioles running him out there in shortstop, center field a lot, I like that as well. Hitting there at the top or in the heart of the order for Delmarva. And I said this on the first week. He just looks like he belongs. Eye test, he's passed with flying colors. He does not look overmatched for the level, despite being 19 years old. And I would love to know, maybe there had to have been some type of injury, or I wonder if the Orioles decided just to pull back with him last year and said, "Look, we're not going to do this on the field. Let's get you off. Let's calm you down. Let's attack this development a different way." And it's paying off. Whatever they did, whatever the reason was, it's worked. It doesn't matter at this point. It worked. For him you would expect him to be putting up these kind of numbers next year when he's repeating Delmarva, but he could be in Frederick by the time, right or around his 20th birthday. I think he turns 20 in like July or something, mid or late July. He could be in high A, realistically, by that point. If he keeps hitting like this, you get to the draft, right after the draft, when guys get moved up, you need some space in Delmarva for the draft picks, you move Leighton up, you challenge him, reward him at the end of the year. And it was cool to see him get his first home run as well. I don't know if it's a family friend or how they know each other, but Jerry Hairston Jr. retweeted our video of that home run. So Jerry Hairston Jr. is apparently a fan of DJ Leighton. But yeah, this kid he belongs. That's just the biggest thing for me right now. Was he in our initial top 50? No, I don't think so. No. So he will be, for sure. There's another guy that will definitely be in our top 50. But a fun start, and I'm excited to see kind of even when some of those numbers level out, I still think he's going to be a very productive hitter for the Shorebirds.
It has been a lot of fun to watch Leighton so far, and the thing that has been the most encouraging to me is the power. The fact that he has 5 extra base hits this early in the season is really impressive, because what I kind of expect, and we're going to talk about this a little bit with a player that I'm going to highlight later on, it's not unusual for a guy to go up to low A for the first time, and early on a lot of their base hits are dropping in for singles. Sometimes the power comes around a little bit later. You want to see the pure hit tool early on, and then you hope the power comes around after that. With Leighton, right now we're seeing both. He's making contact, and he's making good quality contact, so you're seeing the power come through. You do want to see the strikeout rate come down. Ground ball rate needs to come down too, but at the same time, he's having a lot of success right now, and I think Nick's absolutely right. This is the kind of start you would have expected in 2027 when he was going back to Delmarva for his second stint there, not after what was kind of a somewhat lost 2025 season for him and not having the best numbers in the FCL. For the Orioles to be this aggressive, I think speaks a lot to what they see in him as a player, and he's paying dividends so far. Go over now to Nick's pick, who is the lone pitcher that we're going to highlight here.
Yeah, like I said, Anderson de los Santos would have been a great pick, but we talked a lot about him, so I really didn't see anybody else that was like, oh wow, like they put him up there to begin the year. But one that was a little surprising was Sebastian Gongora, left-handed pitcher. Double A did have Braxton Bragg, Patrick Riley to start the year on the IL, obviously coming back from Tommy John, but then seeing Jerron Watts Brown start on the IL, Blake Money started the year on the IL, Zach Fruit, Edgar Portes, there's others as well. A lot of pitchers at the AA level starting the IL, so not terribly surprising to see them go ahead and push Gongora up. I don't know if that had anything to do with it, or the Orioles are already planning on having him work in AA to start the year, but it would have made a lot of sense to have him back in high A, I thought, to begin the year. Just 46 innings there last year. His first couple of outings were honestly really, really bad. Put together a solid month after that, but walks were a big issue for him. I know he got hit in the head with a comebacker at one point, didn't miss any time. He was all good, but still, it just felt like him going back to high A was what we were going to see. But now he's made a couple of 3 starts in AA to begin the year. 13 innings, a 2.70 ERA, 17 strikeouts, and just 2 walks, which is awesome to see. So a 31% strikeout rate, a 3.6% walk rate. He had a 12% walk rate between Delmarva and Aberdeen last year. And he's had all this early success this year when he's really struggling to throw first pitch strikes. It's like 30-something% first pitch strikes. He's regularly working from behind against hitters. We've talked a lot about the velo, right? He lost the velo at the end of the year when he was at Louisville. He found that 97-mile-per-hour velo again when the Orioles had him in Sarasota. He's not throwing 97 from the left side in his starts. I think he's sitting like 92, 93 on a good day. I am curious to see what the velo sits at when the weather warms up and he's fully stretched out in a couple of weeks here. But even if he's sitting, ideally 93, 94, I don't know. This early success he's having in AA, again, eye test, he looks like he belongs there. He's not being overmatched by hitters yet. I still see like a potential 4 or 5 back of the rotation arm here if all goes well. And even if it doesn't all go perfectly, like Gongora, I think I more confidently see just a good depth lefty. And for an 11th round draft pick, I think that'd be a huge win. But I love the start that he's off to this year.
Absolutely. And yeah, I think that's safe to project him as a potential back end or even solid reliever, just left-handed solid reliever. But if he can eventually get that velocity back up consistently as he moves up the ladder in a year or two, couple years, he's got the sick changeup. He's got the secondaries to do it. So if he can get the fastball up, maybe there's even a little bit more there. But it's been very encouraging. All we want to see is these pitchers develop, get up there, get up to the AA and AAA, and then you really start fine-tuning things. But he's at least showed up, looks every bit the part of a AA pitcher. I don't see any reason for him to go back at this point, even if AA's rotation gets a lot healthier. I think he's there to stay. He showed that he deserved to be there, whether it was the plan from the beginning or not. He's there now, and he's making the most of it, and he looks good. The curveball, I think it's slider, changeup with that fastball. And I think Connor McGovern, who does scout the Bay Sox for Dynasty Dugout in our Discord, a patron, he had an article out that he saw Gongora pitch, and I know early on he was like, why is he only throwing these 2 pitches? And then later on he brought in his full arsenal, and he said he looked a lot better. So clearly they're just working on some things early on, and yeah, I'm optimistic on Sebastian Gongora for sure.
I am as well. I really like what we've seen from him so far this year. And yeah, the fastball velocity, like Nick talked about, has not been at the highest levels that we've seen from him in the past. But if he's able to dial it up a little bit more as we get into the season, this allows him to build off his innings total from last year, which was 68 and a third, and he's able to get deeper into outings. I think that's really going to be key for him because for me, when I look at his stuff, I see a big league potential left-handed pitcher. But for me, the dividing line between kind of a depth piece or a bullpen arm versus that 4 or 5 starter ceiling that Nick talked about is being able to locate his pitches consistently. I've seen him dial up the fastball. I know that he can do that. I've seen him drop in some really good curveballs over the last year plus that he's been in the Orioles farm system. I know that his breaking balls can be great at times, but the feel for the pitches from start to start hasn't always been there for Gongora, and if he's able to do a better job maintaining that this year, I think he could really be in line for a breakout.
And I guess if we know he has 97 in the tank, and eventually down the road you convert him to a reliever, and he's throwing 1 inning, then maybe there's some 96s, 97s he could be hitting in there. So I like that fallback that he has there, that fallback profile as well.
I'll go over to my guy now, and this is someone that I did not expect would begin the year in Delmarva at all. And in fact, if you had told me coming into the season that he would not play a game for the Shorebirds, I would have thought that that was a reasonable result, and that is Braylon Whitaker, a 19th round pick out of Cox Mill High School in the 2024 draft by the Orioles. Whitaker played in just 8 games in the FCL last year, and he had 2 IL stints, including a 60-day IL stint towards the end of the season, and ultimately wiped out his 2025 campaign. Given that he just turned 20 in March, a full year in the FCL would have been a perfectly reasonable proposition, yet the Orioles bump him up to Delmarva, and over a fairly small sample size at this point, he's looking pretty good. 40 plate appearances, 303 average, 105 WRC plus, to go to 12.5% walk rate coming into this season now, or coming into this week, I should say. Now, we aren't seeing the power come through yet. We just talked with DJ Layton a moment ago about how you're seeing the power already. That's not coming through yet for Whitaker, but some things that give me a little bit of hope. Line drive rate right now at 33%. He does need to cut back on a number of ground balls, but if he's able to get the fly ball rate up a little bit, I think we could start to see the extra base hit power come around. And the other thing, too, in Whitaker's profile is that he can move around the outfield a little bit, and on pure eye test, he looks good to me defensively. I don't know if either one of you saw that throw he made at Fredericksburg last week to get the runner out at home plate, but that was Judd Fabian level quality in terms of outfield assist. And that's not a lot of Orioles outfielders in the farm system right now that show that kind of arm strength consistently. And if that's a taste of what we're going to get from Whitaker, I'm intrigued.
Yeah, it was a cannon of a throw, and he looks really good out in center field. Again, he's fast, but it seems like he's getting good jumps on balls. He's chasing them down. I like everything I've seen from him. I totally agree that it's been an impressive start to his year. And another guy that for sure I thought was going back to the FCL. I mean, he's a little bit older, where he's already turned 20 2 months ago. But just like DJ Layton, I mean, he was hurt, but he only played in 8 games and got 15 plate appearances. Ended up with a 30 WRC plus. Just didn't really get much at all. So, yeah, it's been really impressive to see him come out and have a 12.5% walk rate, 20% strikeout rate. Yeah, not much power, a little bit of a BABIP bump, but he's really fast. 370 is not 609 or whatever DJ Layton's was. So 105 WRC plus he's rocking right now. 2 stolen, or no, he's been caught stealing twice in 2 attempts. Whoops. 2 doubles. Yeah, I think super impressive. Let him be at Delmarva most of the year and see what happens. There you go. Samuel Basayo just tied the game up with 2 outs, 2 strikes in the 9th inning to get the Orioles on the board live. Yeah, Braylon Whitaker, very impressive start, and I am definitely going to be looking forward to him. He's under 6 foot at 5'10", and yeah, he looks a little small, but if the defense in this, if he could be like baby EBJ at home, that would be something.
Yeah, I'll avoid talking about what the Orioles should have be winning right now that game, but because it's Thursday when you're listening to this probably. But yeah, Whitaker was just someone who, like, there's just no info about him when he was drafted, and he was committed to Wingate, so not exactly a major D1 program either. I had no opinion of him. I don't know who his signing scout was, but obviously they saw something, and so for me it was just kind of like wait and see, and till he gets to Delmarva we could see for ourselves. But we didn't even get FCL box scores to look at last year because he was hurt all year. And yeah, I love the numbers. I love the athleticism. He makes a ton of contact as well. I pointed this out the other day on the Twitter account. I think it's gone down a little bit since then, but now it's an 89% contact rate, 3.6% swinging strike rate. That's number 1 in the Carolina League right now, even ahead of one Caden Bodine, for example. For reference, Caden Bodine's at 5%, and he's like an end zone god at the plate. Why he's still in low A, it's not our problem anymore. But yeah, like that's amazing contact for Whitaker. Like Zach mentioned, we don't know the power. I'd be curious to, again, if we had the batted ball data and we could see how much he's impacting the ball, that would help a lot. But numbers look good. He looks good out there in the field. And yeah, I like the EBJ thing. I almost wanted to say, like, I hate describing it like this because he's a young kid. I want to see him succeed, but like discount EBJ, but off-brand EBJ. But like I think that's what probably he profiles as: speed, defense, athleticism, make good contact, or at least make a lot of contact, get on base, use that speed. Power may never show up, but yeah, really good to see considering he did not have an FCL season last year.
And with that, we will head into our final segment of the night. Last call brought to you by Checker Spot Brewing. Located at 1421 Ridley Street, Checker Spot is not far from Camden Yards, making it the perfect place for a pre- or post-game drink when you're heading out to the yard this season. And even if the Orioles are on the road or you don't have a ticket to a home game, be sure to check out Checker Spot. It's a great place to watch the game, plenty of TVs, good food and drink as well. And they were also open 7 days a week, so be sure to check them out at 1421 Ridley Street in South Baltimore. And now we're going to go and talk about players that we think should be promoted in the early stages of this 2026 minor league season. We talked about some players that got aggressive assignments at the beginning of the year, and now we're going to turn to some guys that are performing well at their current level that we think should get an early promotion. And I want to save Nick's pick for last because that's without a doubt the highest profile guy on this list. So Bob, why don't you start us off? And I'll just say up front, this player has probably been one of the most prolific power hitters in the whole organization in the early weeks of this season.
Yeah, absolutely. Talked about him a little bit last week and how it's much needed after he struggled so badly after the trade that Victor Figueroa came over with 5 other guys, including Boston Bateman, in the trade with the Padres for Ryan O'Hearn and Ramon Laureano. But hey, I spoke the Braden Sloan promotion into existence last week. I'm going to try to speak the Victor Figueroa promotion into existence this week. Probably not. I mean, if it was going to happen, it probably would have happened today already, but you never know. In 10 games, 40 plate appearances, he's batting .351 with a 1157 OPS, 202 WRC plus. He's walking way less than usual, 7.5%, but again, 40 plate appearances. Strikeouts usually stabilize over 60-65 plate appearances, walks 120 to 130. Speaking of strikeouts, he's also striking out way less, 17.5%, ISO of 405. 405. BABIP is 346. That's lucky, but that's not too far off from a pretty baseline BABIP there. He's already got a double, a triple, and 4 home runs. He also has stolen a base. He's slow as molasses, so I don't know how that happened. He stole 7 last year. That's a little interesting to me because he's not like the most athletic fast guy, but hey, we'll take it. And yeah, he's just crushing the ball. You can tell, I saw him on a lot of top 50 preseason lists outside of us and some other mainstream types, but you can see why. Like Dynasty Dugout talks about how hard he hits the ball, and that even as a first base DH prospect, like the exit velocities and the offensive profile is pretty good for that. So that's exciting to see. He was 18th round pick in 2024. Let's see, not a lot. We don't have a lot of first base prospects in general, and I don't even know if he's got good defense at first base. But it's an interesting profile. If he can hit, it'll play. He's still only 22, so younger than I expected before I looked at his age a couple weeks ago. I think at 6'5", 240, he could just be. I can't even remember who was the guy that was in 2020 after the draft, undrafted free agent, catcher, first base type, had some power early on and then kind of faded away from existence. Does anyone know who I'm talking about? Left-handed hitter, Creed Willems before Creed Willems. Anyway, if he could just be this big bopper
right
at first base DH, I would have a lot of fun with that. So Victor Figueroa, let's get him up to Double-A. Their lineup could use a little bit of a spark. Maybe he can share some time with Anderson De Los Santos at first base DH.
Yeah.
Figueroa. Go ahead, Nick.
No, you go ahead. I've got to find this guy now.
Okay. So with Figueroa, the thing that was concerning to me last year was the strikeouts. And I looked at that coming into this year, and I thought, he put up good numbers before the trade, but that was in the California League. He struggled mightily after the trade. I don't know what you can reasonably expect from him, but so far this year it's been good quality contact consistently. seeing him cut back on the strikeouts really, to me, is the most encouraging sign, because I think that that's really going to be the differentiator between him sustaining this success to some level and coming back down to earth after a hot start. And because the strikeouts are down, I do think that the power is in some way sustainable. And even if it's not an immediate timetable for a promotion up to Double-A, I agree with you, Bob. It could happen some point reasonably early in the year, and you can find ways to work him and Anderson De Los Santos into the lineup most nights. I don't think that his promotion needs to be predicated on De Los Santos continuing his own hot start and getting to Norfolk. I think you can find room for both of them there.
Is it JD Mundy? There, he's like coaching somewhere. He's coaching somewhere now in the college ranks. But yeah, Figueroa was coming into the year. It was just like, yeah, you saw him on some of those lists as well, and it's like, what are we doing? Like, I get it, but at the same time, like, there's really no defensive value here. It's first base DH only. And yeah, there's a ton of raw power, but like you mentioned, it was pretty awful when he came over and hit in Aberdeen. But I mean, it was Aberdeen. It's the new organization. We gave that excuse for a lot of guys last year and be like, we don't even really want to truly evaluate some of these guys last year after Boston Bateman, for example. We don't want to truly form like hard takes on him because he's moving organizations. Hand up, I kind of was like, well, I'm not going to use that for Victor Figueroa. He's the next T.T. Bowens in this organization. He very well may be, but like, yeah, that power is legit. Yeah, I'd like to see him challenged as well. I also didn't think he was only 22 years old, but I'd like to see him challenge, get up there to Double-A, and if he can keep those strikeouts down, that power from the left side could be intriguing, even if he is just first base DH depth in Triple-A for as long as you have him under control. He was the fifth or sixth guy in that deal. So, yeah, he's definitely added another dimension to that Frederick lineup, and he's going from someone who I really wasn't anticipating paying attention to a lot this year to someone who I'm excited to watch take at bats.
I'll go over to my guy now, and that's Yaki Rivera, who has been in Chesapeake's bullpen since the beginning of the 2025 season. And having followed Rivera's career to this point, I've known what to expect from him, which is that he's got a fastball that is electric at times. He can generate plenty of strikeouts, but the walks can be a little bit of a problem for him. And if there was one thing that I think you could flag in an otherwise pretty good season for him last year, it was the walks. And you want to see the walk rate come down in a return to Double-A this year. And so far, over a small sample size, granted, we've seen him basically cut his walks in half, from 15.9% last year down to 7% this year. The strikeout rate has only dropped by 2%. I think that this is someone the Orioles should look at promoting to Norfolk sooner rather than later. He's in that window right now where he's been Rule 5 eligible at least once, maybe twice at this stage. So you want to make a decision on him sooner rather than later and figure out whether or not he fits into your long-term plans. And while there are some arms at Double-A that I think you could tab for early promotions, Micah Aspen is one of them, and Tyson Neighbors, despite the fact that he's had a couple of individual outings that have not been great, I think his overall body of work in Double-A warrants consideration for promotion to Triple-A. I think Rivera belongs in that conversation too. And it would be a little bit aggressive to bump Rivera up at this point, given that he's only 22 years old, not going to turn 23 until July. But if you can get him to Triple-A and he's able to work through some of those initial struggles that some pitchers have when they get to Triple-A and start piling up the strikeouts the way that he has at every level in his career to this point, the Orioles might have something.
Yeah, I think they do. And what I like about Rivera particularly is he's never really been, he's been a reliever ever since we acquired him in that trade for Cole Saucer and Tanner Scott, never die. He's always been a guy that they've allowed to go multiple innings in an appearance. It's not just one and done every time. It seems like he's pitching 1+ or 2+ even innings every time out and still maintaining his stuff through both innings. And that fastball slider combination is extremely good. And I think, especially when it comes to relief prospects, like with Tyson Neighbors, he had one bad appearance, one blow-up appearance. Now he's got a 9 ERA. But he also struck out 4 batters in 1 inning. His stuff is ridiculous. When it comes to relief prospects, I believe it's just the stuff overall, over everything. And then, obviously, the walks, too. You want to see the strikeout to walk percentage be good. It's way more important than the ERA. So even though Yaki has had ERAs of 3.97 last year and 3.72 right now, the stuff is ridiculous. You can see the potential to break out in a big way if he can ever hone that command down with the fastball slider combination. So yeah, I like to pick.
Yeah, it's I want to see it. Get him to AAA. I want to see the pitch data first and foremost, but he's holding that high strikeout rate while cutting the walk rate so far, and he's near 60% first strike rate, so he's getting ahead. He's aggressively getting ahead of guys early on. It's only 9 innings, but yeah, 9 innings early on is a lot. Like you mentioned, they do let him go deep into some of these outings. Yeah, at this point, he's spent all year last year in Double-A. He's already showing improvements. I know it is going to be tough to get him a spot, but like Zach touched on the Rule 5 status there, this might be a second year. I don't remember. Wouldn't have imagined he's only 22 years old. If you would have asked me before the year, I would have said he's like 25 because I feel like we've been talking about him for 5 years. But his Rule 5 situation, it's like, yeah, let's see. Can he cut it in AAA? And is he going to be a guy that you want to add in the Rule 5 draft? You're not going to hide him. If another team sees that stuff, that's a guy I think you can take a flyer on. But, like, is he going to be part of your plans? Or if not, I almost think what would be better? Like, get him to AAA, let him have some early success, and would another team be more likely to trade for him? And so you can use him as a trade piece at that point. I don't know. I think he's in one of those tricky situations with the Rule 5 status, but yeah, I do agree. Let's get him up to AAA and let's see what he can do up there at this point. And we'll finish up with my guy, and I'm just going to go with it. Ike Irish, man. Let's get him up to Double-A. He was considered one of the most polished SEC bats coming out of the draft last year. They've made it very clear that he's not going to be touching any catcher's gear. He caught last year because Caden Bodine got hurt. I think Andrew Tess was also on the IL at that point. Delmarva was out of backstops to end the year. Then even though they traded Bodine, he's been first base, right field, DH this year. And he missed a lot of time catching last year at Auburn because of his injury. He returned to the field. He didn't miss a ton of games, but he only played in the outfield. They didn't want to put him behind the plate. This is a guy who wasn't a highly polished plus defender behind the plate. So if the Orioles had any intention of him catching, he needs that time. It is critical that he needs that time behind the plate right now. And they are clearly not going to give him any time back there. It's Ryan Stafford and Colin Tuft are the other two catchers in Frederick right now with Yasmel Boucher on the IL. So Ike Irish would be catching a lot if they wanted him to. I'm 100% on board with that idea of him not catching. I said that on draft night when they took him. I let John Muley change my mind. And now I'm like, screw it. I'm done with it. He's hitting the ball incredibly well. It's only 11 games. He's hitting .316, couple doubles, couple home runs, 15% walk rate, 20% strikeout rate. I'll take that. It's a 161 WRC plus. He's stealing bases even. It's refreshing to see a draft pick, especially an earlier on draft pick, have immediate success in high A. So maybe it's just that euphoria of seeing that play out. But if I'm playing out of the park, he's in the Double-A lineup for Tuesday's game. I know this isn't a video game. I almost wonder if it's like the Aaron Estrada situation, though, last year, where like I remember pointing out, as soon as Estrada starts lifting the ball, he's going to get promoted to Double-A. He immediately hits a couple home runs, gets promoted to Double-A. Irish has got, a 56%, 57% ground ball rate right now through his first 11 games in high A. So I almost wonder if it's just start lifting the ball more. He's impacting the ball well. Once he regularly starts lifting the ball a little bit more, they would promote him to Double-A in the next month or so. I say be aggressive with Ike Irish. If he's not going to catch, just move him up quickly as long as he keeps hitting. And honestly, like, give it another month. More realistically, give it a month sometime into May, and even bring in Vance Honeycutt in this. If Vance Honeycutt keeps hitting like he is, I know he's striking out 51% of the time, which is just absurd. But bring up Irish and Honeycutt to Double-A in a month. Put them in that lineup with Estrada, Sosa, De Los Santos, and Make that a fun lineup to watch. Let's see what happens with those guys.
At least Vance is striking out but doing damage when he does make contact this year, because he was not doing that last year. Baby steps. I do think the plan is going to be pretty aggressive with Irish, because I know just from reading Baseball America and stuff like that in spring he was impressing everyone with his ability to hit the ball hard, but also get better launch angles, better lift on the ball. Hasn't really happened so far in games first couple weeks, but I mean 2 home runs, a little bit, 2 doubles, 2 home runs. But if he can, more consistently tap into that in games, I think that's when you'll see it. And I think especially if they're not going to catch him, you got to race him up the organization. I think he'll reach AAA before the year is out, as long as he's healthy and continues to hit the way that he should. Because whether it's as a trade chip or a guy to use in Baltimore as soon as the end of 2027, I think he's a potential impact player at the big league level. So let's fast track that while we got the competitive window, if there still is one, open.
Nick, you're absolutely right. If they wanted to catch him at all, they would have had plenty of opportunities to do so in the early weeks of the season. There's not anybody blocking Ike Irish from getting innings behind the plate, and yet they're not putting him back there. I think that they know that long-term his value probably is going to be as a first base, corner outfield type who just hits. And what he's doing right now is really impressive. I actually think it's impressive that he's got 2 home runs despite the ground ball rate being as high as it is. And for me, that's really the final test for him at high A. It's not, can he continue to post a 161 WRC plus, because that's a really high bar to clear. It's just, can we start to see him lift the ball a little bit more? And sometimes it takes time. With Aaron Estrada in the last 2 years, we haven't really seen him start to lift the ball until around Memorial Day. Iris hopefully will get there a little bit sooner, but if he can do that, I agree. Push him up to Double A with his versatility, limited to first base, DH, right field. It's not ideal versatility, but it's enough for him to get consistent at bats, even if Victor Figueroa and Anderson De Los Santos are still around. So you can find ways to make that work, and I absolutely think that Iris is a good candidate for an aggressive promotion early in the year. And with that does it for this week. So we will be back next week. In the meantime, you can check out our many social media channels, including Facebook, Instagram, Threads, X, TikTok, YouTube, and Twitch. We're also at Blue Sky, and we're over at Substack, OriolesOnTheVerge.substack.com. And while you're browsing around the internet, be sure to head over to Patreon.com and sign up to become a member today at the $3, $5, or $10 levels, and have access to bonus coverage from Bob, Nick, and myself, as well as monthly updates to our top 50 prospects list, patron-exclusive channels within our Discord community, and a whole lot more. So be sure to check that out at Patreon.com. For Bob Phelan and Nick Stevens and Zach Spedden, you've been listening to Orioles on the Verge, part of the Believe Podcast Network.